Hello and welcome to my live Q&A about Tapam Lodge in Nicaragua. My name's Alex Jardine and I'm one of the travel specialists here at Aardvark McLeod. And recently, at the beginning of May, I visited Nicaragua's Tapam Lodge in search of giant jungle tarpon. With this Q&A session, what I'd like to do is give you an idea of what the experience is like, what you might encounter, and discuss some of the things that you might want to know ahead of a trip if you're planning to go and chase jungle tarpon, either in Nicaragua or nearby in Costa Rica, or certainly anywhere else in the world. So what I thought I'd start off with is, what is Tapam Lodge? So Tapam Lodge really came to the fore thanks to a film by Daniel Godes called Tapam, which was a movie where two strange men paddled about in float tubes and targeted tarpon of 100 to 200 pounds. It really got the juices flowing and really made people like myself want to go and visit this place to see what it was all about. So the lodge itself is situated in a small village along the Mosquito coastline on Nicaragua's Atlantic coast. Here it's still very much almost tribal villages where indigenous people for many generations have lived and worked off the land. And what sport fishing does is it offers them another revenue stream, another way of sort of securing their way of life and their regional villages so that they don't have to then move to the bigger towns. The lodge itself is a beautiful stilted wooden structure, very in keeping with the village. The village is called Cara, which is a sort of traditional fishing village with a lot of lobster fishermen, but also shrimp fishermen, and a few people that farm the land during the dry season. At the moment, the lodge hosts 4 anglers, but going to 2026, that will move up to 6 anglers per week, which makes it a really nice, intimate lodge. Great for an intact party or a small group of friends. And every angler has a single room as standard, and then there's 3 shared bathrooms for the anglers to share between them. The fishing is tarpon-centric and really focused on big migratory tarpon that are pushing up into the rivers to feed. But you will also come across baby tarpon and medium-sized fish. So how we stipulate the categories is a baby tarpon is, say, anything from 1 pound to 10 pounds or even 20. The medium fish are kind of 20 pounds to 80 pounds. And then the big tarpon are 80 to in excess of 200 pounds. So there really is a wide scope of tarpon to encounter. As well as that, you can also pick up snook along the way. There are various species of jack. There's catfish, which was a very unusual looking species, and also ribbon fish, which are like a baby oarfish. Look very cool. So how do you get there? For us traveling from Europe, the way to go is to basically fly from your main European hub. So for me, it was London, but Paris, Madrid, so on, then to go to Miami or Houston in the US. From there, you can connect and then fly on to Managua, which is the capital of Nicaragua. We then overnighted there. For anyone that's got safety concerns about that part, your time in Managua is very short, but also the hotels are very close to the airport, so it's just a quick nip across the road effectively, and really never felt unsafe at any point. So it was one brief overnight, back to the airport in the morning for a little Cessna Caravan hop from Managua to Bluefields, which is a fairly sizable town on the Atlantic coast. it's obviously quite industrial, a lot of farming. I believe it's where the cruise ships sometimes dock. So a lot of workers there then work on cruise ships. But it's very traditional. It's not a tourist place, so everyone's working within industry. Again, very safe. No one's got any real sort of bad interest in tourists coming in. So a very pleasant place to spend time. From Bluefields, we then hopped in a panga, and we ran for 2.5 to 3 hours up the coast to get to the village. So that run is across open lagoons, through rivers, and eventually you get to the lodge. So what most of you want to know about is what is the fishing like? So the fishing experience, so the fishing day it's a long day and quite intense fishing. So you wake up around about 4 o'clock in the morning, which is perfect for us Europeans because it works in with our body clock and our time zone. Wake up at 4, have coffee and breakfast at 4:30 in the morning, and then you're in the boats by 5. So you're trying to capture that sun up experience. So you head out and fish various parts, and then return to the lodge for about 11 o'clock in the morning. At that point, you'll have a brief lunch, chance for a siesta or to explore the local village, and then back in the boats for 3 o'clock in the afternoon for really the last light session, which is again another magical time to be on the water, and fishing through to about 6 or 7 o'clock to come back for dinner. And in reality, you're pretty tired after that. So dinner, a couple of beers, and you're more or less straight out asleep. So the fishing, the way to break it down is there's really 4 main fishing areas that you'll target. There's the rivers, which is probably where you spend the least amount of your time, but large bodies of moving water that congregate bait in sort of back eddies and slats, and that's where the tarpon are moving to go and feed. Then there's the lagoons, obviously very traditional in terms of anyone that spent time chasing particularly baby tarpon. They love these lagoon environments where they can skirt along the edges under branches and in the shadows and nip out for a bite to eat in the sunshine and then back into their lair in the shadows. But rest assured, a lot of the lagoons throughout this system also are home to big tarpon. So even if you're fishing the lagoons, you stand a really good chance of encountering big fish as well. Then there's the channels that feed between the lagoons. These are really great places to intercept fish, but in my view, they're fish, certainly from the tarpon, they're fish moving between locations. So you're catching them as they run, and maybe a brief chance to stop and feed. And then the real focal point of the lodge is the Tapam Canal. So whilst it was dug by the US Army, it makes it sound like it comes across as really manufactured, and yes, it is gun barrel straight, but the jungle has kind of taken it back to itself. So the jungle sprawls into the water from the side, giving you that authentic jungle experience. And then because it's deeper, it really congregates bait, and therefore the tarpon follow it. So this is a prime place to target, particularly the big fish, but you will get medium. We didn't see any small tarpon in that area while we were there, but no doubt you'll probably catch them, but especially medium and large tarpon you'll find in the canal. So what kit would you pack? So essentially, anyone who books a trip will provide a detailed tackle list. But the sort of key things are good quality fishing rod. 11 and 12 weights are a must because these are big fish and they will break tackle. So make sure you've got good quality 11 and 12 weights, preferably 12 weights, because you want that strength when fighting the fish. Make sure you've got reels with good stopping capacity, plenty of backing, good drag, trusty, something that isn't going to let you down on the water. And then leaders, again, for me, I would prefer to keep them fairly simple, just so there's very few weak spots. But there are various thought processes out there, so by all means try different things. And then flies, make sure you got a range of colors. That's really important, but most importantly of all, make sure that they're on good strong hooks. Again, these are strong fish with really robust mounts, so you want to make sure your hooks are strong and incredibly sharp. So it's almost worth packing hook sharpeners as well, just to keep those points really sharp. So during our week, what we experienced from a fishing point of view was actually things were quite slow, and I get the impression that it was slower than it normally would be, and I think that could be from a multitude of reasons. The season was quite delayed with late rainfall pushing the rainy season on another 2 months to normal. And as a response, then the bait fish and the shrimp were much later coming in. But what was evident was the fish were well spread out anyway. So even with the season being knocked out, there was still good opportunities wherever we went to catch fish. But whatever happened during the days we were there, definitely activity was slow. And towards the end of the trip, we saw the activity pick up. So there was obviously something that switched on where the fish came on to feed. And frustratingly, like any trip, I came away and heard that the action was really good for the days after we got back. But that said, we still had our chance at some big fish. We hooked two well over 100 pounds. I managed to get one by the boat, only for it to pop the leader off agonizingly as it sat by the boat, but before a photo. And another one just completely destroyed us. We hooked it in a small channel, and it just ran around the corner and completely cut us off on the hanging down branches. The lagoons gave us shots at small and medium fish as well, which sometimes were more active than others, and we hooked up a few. So no doubt we had okay activity, but certainly by reports it was below average. But definitely exciting when it happened. One of the big thrills of fishing there was seeing the tarpon kind of push the bait fish up against the walls of the canal and then hit them, and seeing those bait fish go flying through the air as a giant tarpon then follows after it is a sight that I'll certainly never forget. So aside from the fishing, whilst it's not a lodge suitable for non-anglers, it definitely is for the fishing hardy. The actual experience is wonderful. Aside from the fishing, in that you've got this beautiful jungle environment that you're within, and because of the nature of exploring the different rivers, canals, lagoons, you're seeing different parts of the jungle all the time. The actual vegetation is luscious and green, because it's the dry season. A lot of the fruit and flowers are ripening, so you've got wonderful sweet scented flowers. The fruit's just about to come ripe, so the monkeys are coming down towards the water edges to feed. So you got this beautiful vista around you. You've got a couple of different types of monkeys that you might see during your trip. So there's the howler monkeys and there's the capuchins. Then there's wonderful water animals. So you've got manatees, turtles, caiman, some otters. So there's lots of life on that front. Plenty of creepy crawlies. You are in the jungle, so spiders, big bugs, everything. But generally they all leave you alone, so that's good. I'm not really a bug man, but it was interesting to see the different bug life. But what really makes this place amazing is just the bird life which flourishes in the area. We saw parrots, parakeets, toucans, a whole plethora of herons and egrets, kingfishers darting about. So it really is a wonderful place for any kind of amateur bird watchers, just to tick off a lot of bird species in one go. I suppose the big question, yes, the fishing was tough, but would I go back? And the answer really is absolutely yes. There's unfinished business, which always is a good reason to go back, to put that right. We didn't see it at its best, so I would like to go back and see it in all of its glory. But what I would say is I think whilst we had a below average week, we had a pretty good experience, and a bit like going taimen fishing in Mongolia or going salmon fishing in Norway or indeed Scotland, is expectation is key. And it's never going to be a destination where you're going to fill your boots with fish. It might be that one morning you suddenly get 5 or 6 baby and medium tarpon, but you're not going to suddenly boat 5 large migratory fish in a day. You're going for that sort of 1, 2, 3 big fish in a week, and sort of anything from 1 and up, you should be very happy with. So I think expectation is key, but it's a destination I would absolutely go back to. I definitely recommend it for the right fishermen. It's not for first-time tarpon fishermen. You have to have a bit of experience in fighting, targeting, casting the heavy rods to really get the most out of the trip. But if you go with the right mindset, the rewards are great. Certainly from a fishing point of view, whilst you're sharing a boat, the 2 anglers are fishing all of the time. They're sometimes in a couple of the river channel environments, it might be a bit tight and pokey for 2 anglers, but for the mainstay, you really want 2 people fishing all the time to get the sort of fly time in the water up to really raise those chances of catching. And I think hopefully I've given you a really good sort of basic summary of what the lodge is there. I'd love to talk to you further about it. We've got some excellent dates available already for the 2026 season. I'd love for some of you to go and try Nicaragua's Tapam Lodge. Thank you very much for joining us on this live video. I hope you found it useful. Please do give it a like, share it around, and do remember to subscribe to our channel and contact us if we can help with this trip or any future trips. Thank you very much.